Today we're going over everything you need to know to get climbing with the platform steps. We're going to go over how to put the steps together, how to attach the stealth strips, all about the bag, attaching the step, stepping on the step, and then last but not least, which is the most important thing, spacing, and a few concepts that's really helped me to streamline the process and be a lot smoother. So stick around to the end and hit the subscribe button if you don't mind. Okay, we're going to start with putting your steps together, and that includes your ropes with your buckles and your stealth strips. So we're going to start by cutting your stealth strips into 3-inch strips. They come in 2 1/8 inch wide. We're going to cut them into 3-inch strips, and that 3 inches, the long side is going to go against the long edge, the top of the step, and then the short side will go against the short side edge of the step, and then we'll kind of push that in to the middle and see roughly where we need to cut a hole, and that's going to be somewhere right in here. And we will cut a little over 1/4 inch, and that'll give us a little over 1/2 inch hole, and then we'll be able to, that's going to be where the rope's going to come through the opening on the step. You're going to want to put your ropes through the step the same way each time. That way, when you get to the tree, it's going to let you be a lot smoother and a lot quicker. So for me, I'm right-handed, so I like to hold the Schwabisch in my right hand, and the step is going to be facing the tree this way, and the Schwabisch is in my right hand, the buckle is on the left side. Put every step together the same way. So first we're going to put the rope through the step, and then we're going to attach our stealth strips. We've already cut our hole in there. We have the rope through the step. Now we're going to put the rope through the little hole we cut in the stealth strip. Now you want to bring that around. Be careful not to get it to stick to itself or anywhere you don't want it. But we're going to start by at the corner of the step on the top, along that long edge. Get that to stick real nice. And then we're going on the back edge, along that edge. Get that to stick real good. And then we're going to kind of work our way into the step, trying to make sure our edges stick. Work our way into the middle to get that to stick. Just kind of push it in. It's not a pretty procedure. Doesn't come out really pretty, but it just works. And you fold that around the side, around that arch, and that pretty well does it. Then it's time to put on your buckle. Just put the loop through one side of your tri-glide, and then down through the other side. And then we flip the end of that loop back around the buckle. Pull that tight. You want to make sure there's no twists in there. And that's all there is to that. Then as that gets up against the step, it does a great job of silencing that. And that's all there is to getting your step ready. Okay, we mentioned that the bag has all kinds of pockets for your steps, ratchet strap. Also has a pocket here you can put pruners or a handsaw in. Has one on each side, and I carry pruners and a handsaw. Has a big pocket. I put my rangefinder in there. You can put headlamps, bow rope, bow hook, everything I need to mobile hunts in there, and that's really nice. Then this comes across and attaches this way. One of the unique features of this pack is the straps. There's kind of an unusual configuration for the straps, and there are a handful of options for carrying. The traditional way would be like a purse just on your side. And if that's the case, you can take this extra strap and you can tuck it down in this pocket. You could also attach that strap around your waist as you're walking, but I like to just carry it like this, just right this way. You can also obviously carry it across your body if you'd like to, and it attaches when you're right-handed with that in the front. It's just really easy to attach. While I'm climbing and attach it around that way, it's going to keep the bag tight around my waist as I'm bending through things. I can slide it around here, it'll hold it there. Slide it around here, it'll hold it there, and I'm still able to adjust the height up and down. And it's just a really convenient way to climb, to keep your steps nice and close to you, and you can keep them exactly where you want as you're climbing. You can also take both of these and you can pop these things off, and you can rig it up like a backpack. On your back, just real small, lightweight. Then you can also, if you're somebody that has to have a backpack, you can take them and configure them this way, and then you can attach the bag to your backpack and carry it on your backpack that way. The bag is just really, really versatile, and it's really a fantastic addition to the climbing steps. Another thing you're going to need to practice is attaching the step. And attaching the step, I believe, begins when you put it away, and that's you just wrap this loosely around the step and it just pops off, super easy. Then you hold on to the Schwabish hitch, reach around to the tree, grab the buckle. Then all you do is pull the buckle with the Schwabish around, and whatever height you want that rope at, you're going to set it about 3 inches higher than you want it. And you're going to set that rope on the tree, bring the Schwabish around. All you got to think about is getting that buckle in there. Flip the step over, tighten that up, then pull down on the step, sets a couple inches, and that's it. Just a really, really simple process. I would just practice that. I'd practice loosening the Schwabish, rolling it up, and I do this myself. I do it a lot. I practice just putting it away, putting it together, take it off, reattach it. Just go through that until it just gets comfortable. It's the same way whether you're using your left foot or your right foot. That's for my left foot, put it on that way. If it's for my right foot, so I messed it up, I can just slide it around. And now it's for my right foot. Both steps the same exact way. It attaches the same exact way. Once you learn that, it's super easy and you get really fast. Stepping on the step. Stepping on the step has 2 key principles. First, you want to maintain contact with the tree with your foot as you're stepping down on the step. The second thing to remember when stepping onto the step is to make sure you're stepping on the step with the arch of your foot. That's the center of your foot. So you want your foot up against the tree and centered on your foot on the step. There will be occasions where your first step is on a very distinct curve before the tree straightens out as it starts to grow up. That first step on this section of the tree has a higher potential for hinging, so you just have to be a little extra careful as you're stepping on this step. If for some reason the step feels like it's hinging a little bit, it isn't as sturdy as could possibly be, you almost give a little hopping motion, and that will add pressure to the step and almost always set the step down a little further. Okay, spacing. Spacing is probably the most difficult aspect to understand, but it's very simple once you get it. Horizontal spacing, the distance from side to side, and vertical spacing. Horizontal spacing is typically the same regardless of the size of the tree. It's going to look something like this. It's a very comfortable feeling. When your spacing is correct, it's going to be very comfortable to stand. It's a much more natural position to stand this way as opposed to standing on climbing sticks. Okay, vertical spacing sounds complicated, but I think I found a way to make it relatively simple. Typically, you'll be standing on 2 steps and you're going to put on your next 2 steps. There are 2 distances that you need to know while putting on your next 2 steps. The first distance is what I call your stepping distance. That's the distance to your first step. And this is the distance that this foot, your bottom foot, is going to step up onto the step. This is where if you stretch this out a little bit, you can get a little bit more distance, but you have to realize the farther you step up onto this first step, the farther you're going to be stepping back down onto this step. So you just kind of have to keep that in mind, because stepping down a little bit farther is a little bit more difficult. The second distance is what I call your standing distance. This is the distance that you're going to be standing on these 2 steps. So you're going to step onto this step, and then you're standing onto these 2 steps. So the 2 distances that you need to know are your stepping distance and your standing distances. Once you learn these 2 distances, they're going to stay the same every single time you climb. And for me, my reference points as I stand up, this step is right at my chest, right about at my nipple height. And this step is over my head just a few inches. So I'm going to have to reach over my head to put this step on. And then this step is going right at my nipples. What that does is has me stretch just a little bit to get up to this step, but then I'm comfortable as I'm standing here. So I stretch just a little bit. That's not a crazy step. That's not crazy high, but it's getting me a good bit of distance. I'm not too short. And then as I step up here, that's the same distance as when I'm at the bottom. Nice, comfortable position. So when I keep these same distances each time as I climb, it's the same distance to the step to the first step and the same distance that I'm standing there. It's a very comfortable process. You repeat that the whole way up the tree. So to figure out your distances, I recommend starting with 2 steps on the ground. You want to put 2 steps up and start with this leg just a little bit stretched out, but you want to be comfortable standing. If you're comfortable being a little bit more stretched out, then that's fine. If you're not comfortable being a little bit stretched out, you can keep your steps a little bit closer together, and there's nothing wrong with that. This is just trying to figure out what's comfortable for you. So once you have these 2 steps attached, then you're going to put on your first step, which is your stepping step. And I would recommend, if you're a little bit more flexible, you can try putting it at your chest. If not, you can put it below your chest and step onto that, test it out, step onto there, and you think, oh, that's not very high. That was kind of simple. I think I could step a little bit higher. I'd be comfortable stepping a little bit higher. You can do that. You can move it up. You set it up a little bit higher. You want to stretch out a little bit. You go to reach, you realize, oh wow, that's way too high. So you just lower it down a little bit. That's a little too high still. Lower it down a little bit more. That's pretty good, but it's maybe just a touch high. So we'll take it down just about an inch or so. That's pretty good. I can deal with that. So that's a good height for my stepping step. Now we'll come back down. We'll find that that's right at my nipple height. Okay, so I have my stepping step. I've figured out my stepping distance. Now I got to figure out my standing distance. So figuring out this distance, I'd recommend setting that step a little bit above your knee. It's pretty close representation. And you can step up on there, and you think that's pretty comfortable. That feels pretty good. Let me try stretch it out just a little bit. See if I can get a little more distance out of there. So we'll take it up 2 or 3 inches, settle that back down. Now you can see I'm about 6 inches now above my knee as I'm standing here. That can give me a reference on how I'm going to adjust that step. That's too high. I was probably pretty good where I was. So we'll just slide that back down a little bit. So we're just a couple inches above my knee. Step up on that step. And that's pretty comfortable. I'm comfortable. This knee's elevated a little bit. I'm slightly stretched out. Looking down, there's very little distance between my feet. My side-to-side distance, you're climbing straight up the tree. That's pretty comfortable. I'm a little bit stretched out, but I think that's going to do it. So now I'm going to back down to where I started from and look at my distances. Stand up here and I see this is right at my nipple and this one is just over my head. So from now on, I step up to these 2 steps. As I'm putting on my next 2 steps, the first one's going to go on right about my nipples. The second one's going to go on just over my head. And I'll repeat that as I go up the tree. Once you get the spacing figured out, all you have to work on now is getting good at attaching the step, and you can go up the tree as fast as anyone. There's no doubt that we have one of the lightest and most compact climbing systems on the market. But we think with a little bit of practice, you'll find that it's one of the fastest and smoothest as well. Check us out at bowmanoutdoors.com.